Imagine this, U.S. intelligence agents slipping into Tehran under cover of night, secret meetings with opposition figures, millions funneled to shadowy networks, a charismatic interim leader declared from exile, backed not by tanks, but by Treasury sanctions and CNN headlines. Sound familiar? It's the Venezuela Playbook. And now whispers are growing louder. What if America tries it in Iran? But here's the truth no one's saying. Iran isn't Venezuela. And if Washington repeats the same script, the consequences won't just backfire. They could ignite a regional inferno. Let's rewind. In 2019, the U.S. recognized Juan Guaidó as Venezuela's legitimate president, despite him never winning an election. The goal? Topple Nicolás Maduro through economic strangulation, diplomatic isolation, and support for internal opposition. Sanctions crushed Venezuela's oil exports. Hyperinflation soared. Millions fled. Yet Maduro, still in power. 6 years later, he's more entrenched than ever. Why? Because authoritarian regimes don't crumble under sanctions.
Why? Because authoritarian regimes don't crumble under sanctions. They weaponize them.
They blame foreign enemies for domestic collapse, rally nationalist sentiment, and tighten control over security forces. The U.S. thought it was playing chess. It was actually handing Maduro propaganda on a silver platter. Now picture that same strategy transplanted to Iran. On paper, it might seem tempting. Iran faces massive inflation, youth disillusionment, and protests over everything from hijab laws to economic despair. America has long labeled the Islamic Republic a rogue state. So why not back an interim government, slap on more sanctions, and wait for regime change? Here's why it would fail catastrophically. Venezuela was isolated, economically dependent on oil, and militarily weak. Iran, it's a regional hegemon. It commands proxy networks across Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Hezbollah, and Yemen, the Houthis. If the U.S. backs a coup or parallel government in Tehran, Iran won't just hunker down, it'll retaliate. Imagine coordinated drone strikes on U.S. bases from 3 countries at once, oil shipments through the Strait of Hormuz shut down overnight, global energy markets in freefall. In Venezuela, parts of the military were fractured, underpaid, and open to defection. In Iran, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps isn't just a military, it's an ideological army with deep economic stakes and fanatical loyalty. They've survived decades of sanctions, war, and internal dissent. They won't switch sides for a U.S. promise or a suitcase of cash. Go back to 1953. The CIA helped overthrow Iran's democratically elected Prime Minister Mossadegh. The result? Decades of anti-American rage, culminating in the 1979 revolution. Iranians across the political spectrum loathe foreign meddling. Even secular protesters chanting "Woman, Life, Freedom" reject U.S. intervention. Try to install a Guaido of Tehran, and you'll unite moderates, reformers, and hardliners against you. Nothing unites Iranians faster than an external threat. Venezuela had Russia's lukewarm support. Iran has a 25-year strategic partnership with China and deep military ties with Russia. Both see Iran as a critical counterweight to U.S. influence in the Middle East. If America moves to destabilize Tehran, Beijing and Moscow won't just condemn it. They'll flood Iran with tech, drones, surveillance systems, and economic lifelines. The U.S. might isolate Iran diplomatically, but it won't starve it into submission. If the U.S. attempts a Venezuela-style regime change in Iran, the immediate fallout would be chaos, but not the kind Washington hopes for. Gulf states panic. Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Israel, already nervous, might launch preemptive strikes on Iranian nuclear sites, fearing a power vacuum or radical escalation. Oil prices skyrocket. Even the threat of conflict in the Persian Gulf could push oil past 100 end. Global recession? Not if, but when. Nuclear program accelerates. With regime survival on the line, Iran's leadership would likely abandon any pretense of negotiation and sprint toward a bomb. Better to be North Korea than Libya, they've said before. Domestic crackdown intensifies. Protests would be drowned in blood, civil society crushed, dissidents jailed or executed. And guess who takes the blame? The U.S. making real reform harder, not easier. Here's the cruelest irony. America's Venezuela-style maneuver would betray the very Iranians it claims to support. The brave women tearing off their hijabs, the workers striking in Zahedan, the students shouting in Tehran's alleys. They don't want foreign-backed puppets. They want sovereignty and freedom. By imposing an external solution, the U.S. would confirm the regime's narrative. The streets are controlled by foreign agents. Legitimate dissent gets tarred as treason. True change in Iran must come from within, slow, painful, and homegrown, not from Washington boardrooms handing out titles like interim president to exiles who haven't set foot in Iran in 20 years. So what should America do instead? Stop chasing regime change fantasies, lift sanctions that hurt ordinary Iranians while enriching the IRGC's black market empire, support civil society, not coups, engage diplomatically, even when it's hard. And above all, listen to Iranians, not the loudest exiles, but the silenced majority enduring daily injustice. Because history has shown, when America tries to export revolution, it often imports disaster.